You need therapy, bro. Like, no idea who you are, mate. Do you know, it's a hard life being the chosen one. And then I'm gonna just, like, stab down into its heart. Hello my angels, welcome back to another video. My name's Ro and today we are doing my December TBR. So today actually, if you guys didn't know by the title, is the finale of campaign 1 of TBRPG. Now what this means, if you have no idea what campaigns and blah blah blah, basically it just means the end of this story, and then in the new year we will be starting a new story, brand new characters, brand new story, brand new setting, the same old formula though. So still George will be writing a story and giving me choices and prompts based on the choices. So the format is not changing, but the story is. We want something fresh and new for 2022. Speaking of my November TBR, we should probably not speak of my November TBR because I have read a single book and it was not on my TBR. I read The Fellowship of the Ring on audio and that was it. Obviously I am filming this a couple of days before the end of November, but by then I think I will have only finished She Who Became the Sun as another book, which again was not on my TBR, it was on my September TBR. So, I mean, at least I'm reading something off a TBR, whether it's November or not does not matter. Clearly I have been very stressed this month with study and exams, but that to me is absolutely fine. I'm just going to try and catch up a little bit in December once my exams are over and just have a great time. So it's all good. I don't really mind, but I'm excited for December and what December will bring and what I fancy reading in December. If you didn't know yet, I am hosting TBRPGathon, a week-long version of my TBR game in January, in the third week of January. The announcement video will be linked in the description as well as up in the little cards, so please go and check that out if you have not already. Not much else to say, to be honest, guys. Let's just dive right into the finale. Over to you, TBR Master.
Thank you. For those who don't know, TBRPG is a choose-your-own-adventure Dungeons & Dragons style game that I have written specifically for Rowan that has choice moments in it, and she makes those choices which impact the story and also give her a prompt. Normally I would give a recap on the previous episode just to get everybody up to speed, but considering it's the finale, I'm going to give a very comprehensive recap of the entirety of the story as a whole. If you want the entire thing, obviously go back and watch them, they're all in a playlist. Essentially, after getting transported into a sort of grim version of the future and then getting attacked as soon as she came back, she went to a local town to look for answers. And the answers that she got there weren't very sufficient. She got sent on a quest to look for a magical artifact known as a mark. And from here, this led her on to a much bigger adventure than she expected, consisting of time travel into the distant future and back, meeting a person who has been sending her letters from the past and from the future, and a villain, let's just say, called Obsidian, who is hell-bent on using all of these magical artifacts to take over the continent. Last episode was a bit of an ice adventure consisting of ice creatures and characters losing limbs. So again, if you haven't seen that, go and watch that. But other than that, I feel we should pick up where we left off for the final episode. You ready? So, recovering from the injuries that she sustained, Evie having lost her arm, and you being at this little ice village for about a week now, you decide that it's time to go to the Verso Bastion that Adelaide agreed to take you.
I've been here for fucking ages.
And you have. Adelaide's taking you further north than you were already, so the conditions are kind of getting worse. It's not snowing, there's no weather conditions bad, but there's quite a lot of snow and it's quite thick, so it's hard to get through. As you're going, Evie then decides to explain why she wanted to go to this bastion so much. And she says the Verso Bastion is home to what's called the Verso Mark. She says around 900 years ago, well, 910 years ago to be exact, the ice monks, hearing of the creation of these marks, decided that it was a bad idea and it shouldn't happen. And the only way to combat that was to fight fire with fire. So they decided to imbue all of their magic into creating a mark of their own that is able to reverse the effects of a mark on its user. That's why I felt like we needed to get here. This is the only chance, basically, that we have.
So what are we reversing?
When Obsidian decides to use all of these marks to take over the continent, if we have this Verso mark, we can reverse any and all effects onto him, stopping him.
Okay, I mean, yeah, I guess that's kind of important then.
It's a big deal, so that's why I wanted to get there.
Okay, well, let's fucking go.
Adelaide continues to take you further north, and as you're getting there, you can see a few more signs of life in the snow, a few more, footprints, dents.
Any crabs? Any crab prints?
Not that you can make out, no little like pokes in the snow, nothing like that. Once you get there, you're starting to see a lot more jagged terrain, and you can see bare rock poking out of the snow, and it's
Pear rock?
Pear rock, yeah, not peach rock, pear rock. You get there and you can see a lot of sort of henchmen working around carrying boxes, tents set up already, and you see Obsidian there as well.
Oh fuck, okay.
So as you are paying attention, you can see Obsidian near the entrance. This is the first choice on or what you want to decide to do. You can try and sneak and get closer and observe, or you can, if you want, straight up approach him, call him out, I guess.
I'm not fucking walking up there, I'm gonna sneak.
You're gonna try and sneak up?
Yeah.
Okay. I need you to make a dexterity check for me then, a stealth check, please.
Okay. Okay. That's a natural one.
Okay.
If anybody doesn't know, a natural 20 is like the situation will go the best it ever can, and then a natural one is the opposite. It will go in the worst possible way.
So, you start approaching. Adelaide sort of bids you farewell. He's taken his end of the deal.
Oh yeah,
He's
see
taken
ya.
you far, so he starts heading back. And you start sneaking up to a bit of a rock nearby the entrance, nearby everything that's happening. And as you're sneaking up, you sort of look to your right and catch eyes with a henchman who's just staring at you. And he immediately calls for other men, and they all grab you and restrain you and start bringing you towards Obsidian. So the prompt for, unfortunately, horribly failing that check is a book with over 400 pages.
Ooh. Okay, so for this choice, I am picking The Two Towers by J.R.R. Tolkien. This is the second book in the Lord of the Rings trilogy. I read the first one last month on audio with the Andy Serkis version. You guys will have seen I did a Insta-Love video for it, so please do check that out. I fell in love. I think it's amazing, especially Andy Serkis. I think he really, really makes it a 5-star read. So I'm very excited to continue and move on to the second book. Not much else to say about it.
The henchmen bring you forward to Obsidian, and Obsidian turns around, notices you, and says, well, I sort of expected you to be here. After I sent you into the future, I had a feeling that I wouldn't be seeing the last of you, and of course, here you are.
Oh, no idea who you are, mate.
After I sent you into the future, having that feeling that you'd be back, I pressured my own Evie to give me any and all information about marks that you might have. After a bit of persistence, she told me about this place. Now, as much as I'd like to kill you all, I think it would be more fun for me to watch you fail. So we're going to keep you alive. You're going to watch me get the mark and destroy the mark, so you will not be able to stop me.
You need therapy, bro. Like,
He turns and he steps up to the entrance of the Bastion, and
such a dick.
Evie sort of leans over and she whispers that the Bastion is a little bit different than where marks are normally housed. The Bastion has to allow you entry.
Okay.
So
So it's based on vibes.
it's a pure vibe check, and she says that only 2 people can go in at a time. Obsidian walks up to the entrance with one of his sort of biggest henchmen,
Burly.
burly man, and stands side by side, and then you see from like a little hole above the entrance, a bit of green smoke pops out of the entrance and is like a serpent going through the air. It splits, half of it circles around Obsidian's head and is kind of just hovering there, and the other half is snaking around, it's going through everybody, it passes the burly henchman, comes straight over to you, and starts circling around your head as well. So Obsidian turns to you and scowls.
Do you know, it's a hard life being the chosen one.
You notice as he's coming closer to you, he has this sort of custom belt on, and it has all of the marks strapped into this belt for, quick use. He kind of walks over and he looks at you, looks at the green smoke above your head and is shaking his head, and he's like, yeah, right, no fucking chance. Grabs that henchman that was by the door and sort of storms in with him. And as Obsidian walks through the door, completely fine, the henchman walks through and just falls limp and just lands on the ground, completely motionless. Obsidian's looking at him, getting visibly angry, turns over to you. Release her, get her over here. The henchman, release your feet, but your arms are still bound. Brings you over to the entrance. Again, you can see how visibly angry he is, and he's looking at you at the entrance. And he walks over to the wall of the bastion, he unclips one of the marks, and you see this big sort of like astral, like a projection of a hand, sort of like slam into the rock face, and loose snow falls in like a range, and you can see now how like deranged he looks while using some of these marks. He looks like he's lost it. Now, you are there with your hands still bound, about to go into this cave, protecting a very powerful artifact. You don't have any sort of protection. So the second choice is what you want to try and convince him to give you. Okay, you can either convince him to give you just some sort of crude weapon, like a sword or a dagger or anything like that, or, if you want to go for it, you try and convince him to give you a mark to protect yourself.
As if he's gonna give me a mark. I mean, I want a mark, but I feel like he's less likely to give it to me. And they are bad to use, so I'm gonna ask for like a dagger or something.
You're just gonna ask for a weapon?
Yeah.
Okay, I need you to make a charisma check for me then, please.
Ooh, 19. No.
18. No, 19.
19.
19, that's pretty good. Okay, so, how are you gonna convince him? What are you gonna say?
Yeah, yo, man. I know you're having like a bit of a weird time. I feel like you need anger management right now. And I feel like you also really, really need to go to therapy. But I am bound here. I can't do anything when I'm in this cave with you. I can't help do whatever the fuck you want me to do. So I need some kind of weapon. I need like a dagger or something.
Fine. Okay, he takes out a dagger and he clips your hands. And as soon as he does that, he holds the knife like straight up to your neck. And he says, if you want to try something, you can, but you won't succeed. So just stay behind me, do as I say, and then sort of flicks and hands you the dagger.
Okay, Jesus fucking Christ. Ugh!
The prompt for this one is a wintry book.
A wintry book?
A wintry book.
So for this I'm going to pick Midnight in Everwood by M.A. Kuznia. This is literally a Christmas winter book. It is about a ballerina in 1906. She wants to be a ballerina the rest of her life, but her family are pretty much like, no, you have to marry and be a housewife and all that crap. This toy maker turns up who has magical toy stuff, and he offers to build her a stage for her last performance on Christmas Eve, and basically she says yes, and during the performance on Christmas Eve, she gets transported to Everwood, and it's a bit more dark and scary than she expects, and it's got nice, cool sprayed edges. I'm really excited to read this, hoping to read this on Christmas Eve, Christmas Day. So yeah, wintry book.
So he sort of grabs your arm, and you both walk through, and fortunately you don't suffer the same fate as the henchman. You walk through completely unscathed. And as you come through, you feel the temperature immediately go to normal. Looking around, it is quite dilapidated, but you can still see carvings along the wall, very much like sort of cave paintings. You see figures, and it's all over the walls are the ones that are still standing anyway, that haven't crumbled to pieces or are covered in snow or ice. It isn't as far as you can see anyway, the cave that you were in on Carrothalf Island. There doesn't seem to be any trials or traps in this room. There are a couple of doorways that you look in, and they just seem to be very rudimentary bedrooms.
Oh, okay.
From where the monks used to live here.
Right.
At the end, though, you can see there is a doorway and a hallway. So, quite anxiously, Obsidian motions for you to go in first. He's making you go through first. So you enter a room, and it's a very long room. There's a very thin wall separating into two hallways, basically 2 wide hallways, and there's a plaque on the floor that says 2 must become 1 to wield the power held by the Bastion.
Is this S Club?
Become 1. So again, Obsidian, he seems quite frustrated, realizing that he can't just ditch you, realizes that you both need to get through an individual way of this hallway to get through.
Yeah.
So he unclips a mark. You recognize it, and you recognize the effects to be the one that you used in the statue of him in the future, and a phantom version of him appears. Well, two appear, and they both run through the hallway so he can see what happens. On one side, nothing seems to happen, but then in an instant, like a volley of arrows come landing on top of the phantom and just disperse the phantom. On the other one, two skeletal creatures start forming and begin to swipe and swing at the phantom, which also then disperses the phantom. So Obsidian, again realizing that both of you have to get through, he kind of says, well, I'm not stupid, I know that one of us have to get through, so which one do you feel you'd be able to get through? So you can either go through the arrow hallway, this is choice 3, or go through the skeletal warrior hallway.
I'll go for skeletons.
Skeletons?
Skeletons.
Considering you have a dagger. Okay, so I'll give you the prompt for this one first. The prompt is a book with multiple points of view.
None of my really most anticipated right now multi-POV other than this one, which I actually wasn't planning on reading too soon, but it seems like quite a quick romp, quite a good read. So for this, I'm picking the Atlas 6 by Oliver Blake. This is a self-published kind of contemporary-ish fantasy with a tournament to get into a secret society of magicians. There's 6 points of view. They all have different powers. Basically, only 5 of them can get into the society. One of them will be eliminated. Don't know if that means they will be killed, possibly. But that's kind of all I know about this. It has been raved about. It has actually been picked up for publishing by either Orbit or Tor, I can't remember, next year. So if I like it, I'll be getting the hardback as well. Looking forward to it.
So Obsidian lines you both up on the separate hallways and sort of counts you down. It's 3, 2, 1, go, and you both enter at exactly the same time. The 2 skeletal warriors reappear and get ready to fight you. So now we're going to do a little bit of combat. I'm going to need you to roll a d20 to attack the first one.
Oh god, a 10.
Okay, 10. And now could you roll a d8 for damage?
2.
2. Okay, so one of the skeletal warriors swipe down with a sword, and it's quite fumbly, it's quite, it's not very refined, and sort of hits the ground, and in that area you manage to sort of get a stab on one of the arms, and the shield arm just crumbles and falls down, so it's just got its sword in its hand now, so you roll again.
Oh right, yeah, okay, that's 23 to hit, and
Yep.
then 5 damage.
5 damage, okay, so as the arm crumbles off, and you are now sort of behind it, it takes a wild swing behind it, but you manage to duck out of the way, and immediately just plant the dagger straight into its head, and it just crumbles and falls. The other one though is also now running up to you, charging, so could you please roll to hit that one as well?
22 to hit.
That's hits, and roll the damage.
2 again.
2 again. Very similar to the other one. As it's charging towards you, you bash into the shield, and being much stronger than just a pile of bones, it sort of fumbles backwards and falls down.
At least I'm consistent.
For
18.
18 definitely hits. Yeah.
And 7 damage.
7 damage. So, do you want to describe how you kill this last skeleton?
I'm gonna do because I've just finished kind of killing that one and then I've hit him once.
Yeah, and he's down on the ground.
He's down on the ground. I'm gonna flip, because I'm currently holding the dagger, normal dagger, and I flip it so that I'm like this. And then I'm gonna just stab down into its heart, where its heart would have been.
So as it does that, you notice that all this sort of magic keeping all of the bones together, no muscle, no tendon obviously, they all kind of in a wave just start releasing, and it kind of just falls to just a limp pile of skeletons in the shape of a skeleton, but no life is in it anymore, and the sword and shield kind of just tumble to the ground.
Sick.
You run through and you see Obsidian there, completely unharmed. He looks absolutely fine. Obviously, if you used some sort of mark to get him through. At the end of the room, there is a doorway, so Obsidian motions for you to go in first. So you go in, and very similar to the room that you were in Carrot Island now, is a very long room with a podium at the end. As you start approaching, blue swirls of smoke start amalgamating in the center, and up in front of the podium, in a black robe, very similar sight again, is the Protector, who you saw at Carrot Island.
Yeah.
I am the Protector across the lands. I am sworn to protect these marks.
Yeah. We know.
Obsidian, similar to you actually, gets quite impatient and grabs one mark in each hand and just says, let's just get this over with, and starts charging at the Protector. Instead of retaliating though, the Protector kind of just holds his hands up and doesn't seem to want to get into any sort of fights, and just says, what you desire, sadly, is no longer here. And he moves, and the podium is empty. There is no mark on the podium. And he says, many moons ago, the mark was taken.
Gutted for you, mate.
You can see with him holding these marks, his eyes go complete black, and he goes into this like horrible rage and charges at the Protector. Seeing like, you've never seen this sort of power from the Protector when you fought him last, but he sort of just flicks his wrist and Obsidian goes flying through the air and like smacks into the wall.
Mm-hmm.
His belt like breaks and marks just go sliding across the floor. One hits your feet and you recognize it to be the mark that has the ink, the magic ink that can teleport you through time, right at your feet. You think back to what Evie told you about when the monks made this mark 910 years ago to be exact. So you pick up this ink mark, grab a piece of paper, and you write down 910 years ago, and you open the paper, the tendrils appear, and you see Obsidian looking at you in a sort of a last-ditch attempt, tries to run over and grab you but misses you, and you disappear. So you're thrown into the same chamber that you're in, but it's much nicer. It's lit by some oil lamps in there. Examining the room, you're looking at the podium, and you can actually see like 10, 11 monks placing the mark on the podium, and they all kind of look back at you and they say, who are you? Choice number 4, before you go, you can decide to tell the truth, or you can decide to try and lie to them if you want.
Oh, I'm gonna tell the truth.
You're gonna just tell the truth straight up?
Yeah.
Go for it, tell the truth.
I am Ro, I'm from the future. I know that may sound a bit odd, but you know, you've got a mark there, I've got a mark here. I'm trying to stop Obsidian. This guy, he's got like all of the marks. I managed to get this one which travels through time, and he just turned up here 910 years in the future to get it, and it's gone. So I'm gonna need the mark.
As you're saying all of this, they're all kind of very slowly approaching you, very cautiously, kind of all walking up towards you. They get close to you and they all part for one monk at the back who has the mark, who is kind of outstretched, going towards you. The prompt for this choice, before we go any further, is very nice one. This one's just a free pick. So anyone you want, considering you're very truthful and you told the truth, get to pick whichever one you want.
Okay, so free pick. I am going to pick Nevermore for this. I have read this before. It is going to be a reread. I am planning to reread this and read the next 2 books as an act of self-care once my exams are over, like almost immediately after I come out of my exam. Probably going to come home and immediately start reading this, just that I don't think about it too much. This is a middle grade. I gave it 5 stars when I first read it. The 4th book isn't out now until like next October, so I thought perfect time to catch up on the series, considering it'll be very wholesome, very good for my brain. To be fair, I don't actually remember a lot of the plot from this, so hopefully it'll be just like reading it brand new all over again. But Nevermore, The Trials of Morgan Crow. Obviously, I love trials. If you've not read this or heard of this, genuinely, please just do. It is probably the best middle grade series ever, and a lot of people do love it, and for good reason. So please do check it out. I love it a lot. Okay, look how cool the hardback is, and it's the same for all the hardbacks. It's amazing. I love it.
You reach out and you take the mark, and as you reach out, you notice your hands now are completely purple. The effect of using that ink mark again, it's encompassing your entire body now. And you hear a voice coming from behind you, so you turn and you can see what looks like the oldest of the monks standing in the corner near the carvings on the wall. So you walk over to him. He's sort of gesturing to all of the carvings on the wall, and he says, "As the elder, I spent many days and nights in solitude, observing the known futures. The creation of the artifacts are always the catalyst in the continent's destruction. However, in many, if not all futures, there is always one that stands before them. One with violet skin. So as an act of help from us, we decided to create this mark to help you, whenever that time may be. Now, we realize this is a lot sooner than we expected, but please take it. Help whichever time you're from.
So I am the Violet Sprinter?
I mean, it looks like it. You can see the carvings on the wall that have always been there, but you now see like a woman holding a mark up. Obviously, none of these carvings, because they're all out of rock, have any colour to them.
Yeah.
But holding up kind of almost like this horrible looking creature in the sky, you're holding up a mark to. And there's like light emanating from the mark. It's very intense. So you use the mark again, the ink mark, that is, to, again, 910 years, back to your time. You go back to the chamber, but you can feel a chill, a cold wind. So you look around and you can see like there's like a pile of snow and broken ice on the ground and a huge hole in the roof that is open to the air. You can hear distant booms and cracklings come, so you just head straight back out the way you came. So you come out and you can see the sky. There are horrible dark clouds swirling and there's like hits of lightning and stuff like that. You can see a very distant figure moving away, but you cannot make it out whatsoever. As you run out, none of the henchmen are there. Place is just completely destroyed, basically.
God. You had a temper tantrum, basically.
Evie runs over to you and just says, like, what just happened? Like, what happened?
I have the mark. I have the Verso mark. So, let's get this fucking over with. I hate this guy. I want to go home.
Okay, well, I mean, we just heard an explosion and then he came flying overhead. All of the marks were kind of like orbiting him and he just looked horrific.
He's gone full final boss form.
But he was going fast. I can't catch up with him, can you? We can't go.
No.
She clocks the ink mark that you have, snatches it out of your hands, and she says, "I'll be back," and just disappears.
Okay.
A few seconds later, you can see a very faint growing light in the sky, and a huge figure just drops out of it. And another smaller one, around your level, pops out, and Evie's there again, looking a little bit older than she was when she came in. She just says, "Well, we needed a ride." Looking behind her, you see a huge crab with a saddle on it stand to its feet, and Evie blowing this whistle that is silent to you. The crab turns to you and sort of leans down, allowing you to get up onto its back.
Okay. So am I riding side saddle or do I
No front saddle, it goes front ways. So now this crab is galloping in the direction that he went, going at a ridiculous speed, and you can see you are now sort of catching up. You get much closer and you can now see Obsidian. He's floating very sort of ethereal. His arms are down to his side, is just completely motionless, but all of these marks are orbiting him. Energy bolts are flying off him, striking the ground. As you're getting closer, one of the energy bolts strikes the ground just in front of the crab, and it flings you off to the side.
Fuck.
The snow breaks your fall. You get up and you sprint. You just dash to try and get ahead of him. You do manage to get a fair distance ahead. You hold it up and you see he stops to meet you. He stops midair. His pupils, just for a split second, they go back to normal. You see him sort of look around in horror almost and regret, and you kind of see him come to the realization of like what is going on. So this is the fifth choice. Seeing that on his face, you can either decide to go ahead and use the Verso mark, or you can maybe try and save him another way.
Oh my lord. I mean, didn't he kill someone?
Yeah, I mean, sure, he's killed loads of people before.
Right, yeah, well, I'm going to use it on him then.
You're going to use it on him?
Yeah.
Yeah, fuck redemption, is it?
Well, when you kill people, there's not much coming back from that, to be honest.
Okay, so I'm going to give you the prompt for this one first. And the prompt is a 5-star prediction.
Okay. For this, I'm going to choose Under the Whispering Door by TJ Klune. I have been meaning to get to this since it came out in September. I absolutely adored House in the Cerulean Sea. It was my top book of 2020. This is a kind of speculative fiction. It's about like a tea shop that is a kind of crossing from life into death, and it is about the main character who like is the Reaper. Wallace is the other main character. He is outraged that he like had no one come to his funeral, and then he kind of has some things that he wants to do before he passes over, and I think it's gay. Pretty sure it's gay. And other than that, I don't really have much else to say. I don't really want to know much more going in, to be honest. This is the Waterstones edition, which just has like nice blue edges, and I'm just very excited for it. Very annoyed that this sticker is printed on though. Didn't notice that before.
So, holding the mark high above your head, a stark silence just comes over everything. You don't hear anything from him, any of his marks, nothing. A beam of light comes from the mark and encapsulates him entirely in this sort of like translucent orb. You see him start to sort of writhe, and all of the energy that he was producing, now trapped in this orb, is bouncing off of it. It's piercing him. It's all kind of going crazy. All of these different marks, portals are opening inside and closing, and just in an absolute frenzy. And the orb is starting to very slowly shrink down, and before long you can't really see any figures inside. It's just flashes of energy, magic, color, anything. You can hear screams and other magical sounds until the orb shrinks down to a very small size and then just vanishes. Obsidian is gone along with all of the marks that he had.
Oh, okay. Problem solved, I guess.
The clouds start to dissipate and the blue sky returns. Any of the sort of the energy that you felt in the air is gone. It kind of just returns back to normal.
Bad vibes are gone.
All the bad vibes are gone. So you return to Lycos, which is the nearest sort of main town to where you were. You both take well-deserved rests. The Red Moon Festival arrived, and it was a very nice break. There were banners, there were fireworks, there were, people out in the streets celebrating with chants, food stalls with all of this like amazing looking food, and the moon in the sky, just this piercing red moon in the sky. Everybody was celebrating and it was an amazing time. While this was going on, you clock Evie, you see her, and she's got like a bit of a, she's thinking. She's not completely content. She pulls you to the side and she says, what you did, thank you. You saved us, but there is still something on my mind. Now, I said back when we first met here that I sent you these letters and all of these things, but that first sort of correspondence that you received, I didn't send that. I don't know who did. And considering this is the only sort of mark, or one of the only marks that we have left, I feel that we need to set these events in motion. And she holds up like the ink mark. So she kind of gestures, sort of holding the mark out. So this is the very, very final choice of the entire campaign. Do you want to go back and send yourself a letter, or do you want to leave it to Evie to set the events in motion?
Evie is fucking useless. I'm doing this myself.
You're going to do it yourself?
Yes.
Oh wow. So, the prompt is quite a cool one in my opinion. I'm going to need you to roll a d20, and the number corresponds to a previous choice in TBRPG episodes that the prompt then corresponds to. If it's a duplicate, we'll just go one closer to the one nearer.
Oh, okay.
But I feel like this is fitting to close out TBRPG. Roll a d20 and we'll go back to one of the episodes.
Okay. 3.
3, so we're going back to the very first episode.
Back to the beginning, literally,
to
to send the letter to myself. It's coming full circle, guys.
So I went back and looked, and the assassin notices you.
Fuck.
And
Ah!
so the prompt for this one, again, it's not that bad. It's just paperback.
Oh! You know I hate paperbacks.
Unless they're floppy.
Unless they're floppy, I hate paperbacks.
From there, you can see that the prompt even is paperback.
Okay. So for paperback, I am picking Take a Hint, Danny Brown by Talia Hibbert. This is the second book in the Brown sisters romance. Technically standalones, but it's a trilogy about three sisters and each of their stories. Obviously, like I said, this is the second one. This was gifted to me by Megan, who is one of my archangels on Patreon, so thank you, Megan. And this is just a really good romance. I've heard really good things about the second two books. Gave the first one 3.5 stars, was really enjoyable, really fast. So I think this will be a nice one to round out December. Probably will not take that long to read. Very excited to read these. I also have the third one, probably get to that as well.
So you take the mark from Evie, so give her a nod. She hands you sort of a book to use as well for the ink. You set the time before this all started. Open the book, you feel the energy, the tendrils come out, grasp you, and in an instant you're back in Light Ghost, because that's where you were, to a time before any of this started. So you can now freely go about and set the events of the entire campaign in motion. And that is the end of the story.
Woohoo! I thought that was really good.
Well done.
I really enjoyed it. I hope you guys enjoyed as well. It's a bit of a weird feeling like finishing a story, but I'm excited to see what happens in the new year as well. Next month, actually on Christmas Day, you will be seeing a Christmas themed polar fantasy-esque special edition of TBRPG, which will be another one-shot for my January TBR. So then the new campaign will start for the February TBR, which will be end of January / beginning of February. You will see that. I'm happy with the books that I've picked. A lot of them I was planning on reading anyway, whether it be for self-care like Nevermore, or particularly a wintry book like Midnight in Everwood. I am really feeling like really easy reads in December. I will probably carry on things like Ship of Magic by Robin Hobb, and possibly the sequel as well on audio. But we'll see how it goes, I guess. I do have 2 exams on the 6th and 7th, and then an exam on the 23rd. So that does kind of take up a lot of time in December, but I'm hoping the third one will be quite easy, because it's similar to the ones I did near the beginning of September and October, where I did actually still read quite a lot. And there's Sprintathon in December from Pris, as well as Festive Readathon with Steph the week before that. So lots going on in December. Hopefully I will just be able to relax and read as much as I like. But yeah, if you enjoyed this video, please do give it a like. Check out all of the other episodes in the playlist, which will be linked in the description if you had no idea what was going on right now. Comment a little crab emoji if you were here, but you didn't really have anything to say, but you wanted to let me know that you were here. Make sure that you subscribe to get all the future content from me in your inbox. Lots of stuff coming December and January. Lots of plans, lots of end of year videos. I'm so excited. All of my links are in the description, including the link to my Patreon. If you don't know what goes on my Patreon, then this is what you're missing out on.
Yeah, if you've ever been on sprints with Ro or myself, we do literally just relax.
Yeah.
We'll both just be in bed.
Literally in my OD, like I literally am right now recording this
Me
podcast.
too.
Oh yeah,
in my,
you are.
My spin-off.
Knockoff.
Knockoff.
Spin-off.
The sequel.
The sequel to OD 2 Electric Boogaloo.
Oh god.
Speaking of my Patreon, I want to give a huge shout out to everyone at my deity tier. So that is Becca, Meg, Rachel, Lisa, Lydia, Mercy, Sarah, Celeste, Tori, Adinda, and Liv. Thank you guys so much for all of your support, and I'll see you in another video. Bye!